Alhamdulillah for everything.
Alhamdulillah.
Fino or loss, Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, everything God give me.
Hello guys, hope you're doing well. I'm in with the NH2 podcast today, and we've got a special episode today. First time in the basketball world, and I'm joined by Baylee Steele. How you doing, brother?
How we doing? Thanks for having me, my man.
All good, all good. He's right now in the US, right? You enjoying life there?
Yes, sir. Just moved down here to Fort Lauderdale for the summer, for the off season, and I'm enjoying it, man. I'm loving it.
Yeah. When did your season finish in China abroad?
The season was over. Last game was March 31st. Left the next day. I was out of there, man.
Yeah. So let's talk about obviously who you are, where you came from, where you started. So, what was it first like? You know, where did you grow up? How did you get into basketball?
Yeah, so I grew up in Iowa, in Des Moines, Iowa. I actually grew up playing baseball. I thought I was going to be in the MLB. That was my goal. But, as I kept growing, my baseball talent kept decreasing, right? And so I was really good. I was a pitcher hitter. I was really good at like 11, 12, 13. But then that was my peak, and then everyone else started to pass me and get better than me. And, like I said, I just kept growing like a weed, man. And I was falling out of love with the game of baseball. And, I'm 15, 16, and I find basketball. And I was playing on the JV team that year, and I had this game where I had a double-double. It was like towards the end of the season, and I had fun doing it, And so since then, I dropped baseball completely, and I went all in on basketball, and that shift went from playing pro baseball to playing pro basketball. And so since then, I've just been working myself to get to this level, and now I'm here.
When you decided to go all in on basketball, was that more of a height thing because you thought, "Oh, I'm tall, I should try out basketball"? Or
It was me falling out of love with baseball and falling in love with basketball, and me growing. I was like 6'8" when I committed to basketball, and I was just like, "This is it right here. This is it for me." Even though at the time I was 6'8" and an uncoordinated baby giraffe, man. I was just tall, lanky, and I had no business even dreaming of playing basketball professionally, Like every one of my teammates has been playing their entire life, But here I am. I just got a good frame, a nice 7-foot frame that I'm growing into, a crazy work ethic, and a dream. That's all I had. I had zero natural skill at all. I wish I had some film I could send you to put over this little segment, but because, man, I had no business dreaming like this at all.
yeah. And obviously, you said you were 6'11", 7 foot. What led to that? Did you have tall parents, or was it just freak luck, or what?
I mean, parent genetics. My parents are 6'8", 5'10". I have to say that's all it is, because growing up, my diet was, it was horrible. I was just eating, fried foods, sweets, all this, trash. Genetics, man, and luck.
Yeah, no, that's what basketball sometimes. It's like you see loads of people have the height, but they need the skill as well to dribble, shoot, and everything else.
Of course.
And so you said you were 16, 15. You fell in love with basketball. You moved into that. And how's it like academically as well? Because obviously with basketball in the US, you got to join a college and you play college football and all of that.
Yeah, man. So I was a really bad student, right? So my first 2 years of high school, freshman, sophomore year, my GPA was like 1.0, 1, like horrible. I didn't care about school. I'm the first college graduate in my family. So I'm saying that to say I didn't really have guidance, right? In my household I grew up in, education was not really valued, right? And so I didn't get about school. I didn't really have any direction in life at that time, you know? And then after that sophomore year, when I made that jump to basketball to go all in, I'm like, okay, I want to play pro. How do I do that? I need to go D1, right? Can't go D1 with a 1.0 GPA. So the absolute bare minimum was you have to have a 2.3 GPA in order to be eligible to go D1 straight out of high school, right? So I dug myself a crazy hole, right? I had a 1.0 GPA my first 2 years. I'm like, I need to really buckle down. I need to lock in so I can be eligible. Graduated high school with a 2.3 GPA, man. It's wild. So when I got to college, I was like, I'm not doing that again. I set a goal to have, it was a modest goal to everyone else, but to me, it was aggressive, right? I set a goal to have a 3.0 GPA. Graduated my undergrad with a 3.2, 3.3 or something like that. And I got my master's degree. I had, I think it was like a 3.6 or a 3.7, right? But that's what my education is right there. I only got it because of basketball. If it wasn't for it, I wouldn't have any degree probably. Yeah, all because of basketball. Yep.
And so obviously college, just about got that GPA. And with obviously college, there's coaches, there's things, they spot talent because America, obviously the pathway is obviously most of the time it's college, draft, NBA, or whatever. And who did you say kind of recognise your talent? They were like, hang on, this Baylee guy, he's got some skill, let's try him out.
Well, I got lucky because what I lacked in skill, I made up for with my height and my work ethic, right? So there's a saying in basketball, it's guards are a dime a dozen, right? There's a lot of 6 foot people in the world, 6 foot basketball players, but there's not a lot of 7 foot people in general, let alone 7 foot pro basketball players. So that's the only reason I'm honest, straight up. If it wasn't for my height, I wouldn't have went to even JUCO to start, right? But that's what coaches saw in me, and then I show them on the court that okay, I might not be the most skilled player in the world, especially at that time, right? But I'm going 110% every single play. All right, I'm giving it my all. I'm playing the right way. I'm a team player and everything. I'm a good teammate, and I just try to do the right things. You have to. When you don't have those skills, you have to make up for that somewhere else. And so,
Yeah. When he said obviously you had that work ethic, what does that look like in terms of work? Because when people say I worked hard, what kind of stuff did you do?
but yeah. So when I was 16, right, I didn't have trainers and everything around, like especially being in Iowa. I didn't have all that. I didn't even have guidance for basketball in my life, right? So I was in the weight room working. I was in the gym doing extra work. I was outside just going on runs, doing whatever to push myself and build my mental muscle. I really always I have a lot of pride in how mentally strong I believe I am compared to my peers and my teammates that I've had, right? And so that's kind of what the work was then. Like it was just any way that I could get in the gym, I would do it, man. Like I made friends with my janitor at my high school. They used to not let us go in the gym after hours because liability stuff, whatever, right? So man, any way that I could get in the gym, I would do it. I had to make friends with the janitor, so that he could let me in the gym. I would shoot with the lights off, and it was like the dim lights, so you could see just well enough to be able to shoot and go rebound, right? So I had my workouts I would be doing in there. And then in college, it was a little bit different. We had 24/7 gym access. We had tools, like we had like the guns and everything, and we had some coaches. I'll say it. They weren't supposed to work with us extra, but every one of us was getting extra work, straight up. So in college, I was just always trying to just go, and so that's yeah.
That's good, yeah. And a lot of people, you see it, not just basketball, but also football. I don't know, they call it soccer over there, but here we say football and stuff. All these footballers that came from, harsh backgrounds, they always, made connections with the janitor or Did you sneak into the gym, get some extra work done? And would you say that's what set you apart from other 7 foot guys, other just tall people?
Well, I mean, look, it's what set me apart from everyone else. Like straight up, I always, I was always told by my dad, the biggest thing he taught me was a job worth doing is worth doing right. And so what that meant to me was that if I'm going to do something, I'm going to go 110%. I'm going to do it right. If I had this goal to be a professional basketball player, I'm going to do that right. I set that goal and I naturally backtrack what I have to do in order to reach that. So, okay, it was work my butt off, right? So that's what I did and put myself in a position to get there, right? So, okay, I got to go D1. I'm not good enough to go D1. Let's go to JUCO so that I can get a better shot to go D1. Okay, I'm D1. Now I gotta learn the game. I gotta be able to turn into a pro. It needs to translate into that game where I'm playing against grown men. So I was constantly putting myself in positions to get to that pro level, right? And so I've always thought with that long term mindset, right? I think that's what set me apart from everyone else. I really took pride in being the hardest worker in every single room that I've ever been in, right? And so
Never settle for less.
yeah, that's it. That's it. It's my work ethic. I wouldn't be here without it. Straight up.
Yeah, and so you managed to get your way into D1 basketball, and obviously D1. We all know D1. That's really high standards, lots of high quality there. Did you struggle at first in D1 and then settled in, or how did it work?
Well, here's the thing. I started playing at 16, right? And I never really had a teacher to teach me the game. So when I was out there on the court, I was just running around, being tall, right? Running around with a lot of energy, being tall, right? And so I needed to go to a place where I would learn the game. And so my first year D1, it was at Eastern Michigan. I'm, 19 years old. I averaged 4 and 4. Um, I didn't know what I was doing. I had some solid games, some double doubles, whatever. But at the end of the day, I wasn't learning the game. I wasn't in a program where they were teaching their players how to be successful and go on to that next level, right? And so I did struggle, right? Obviously, I wasn't the best player. I wasn't skilled, whatever. But I also did not know what I was doing at all. So I was just, like I said, tall 7 foot kid out there just running around. So that's why I had made that move to go to Utah Valley after that year, because I knew if I would have stayed at Eastern Michigan, I was not going to be a professional basketball player. I wasn't going to be that caliber of player, right? So this was back before NIL, back when you had to sit out a year. They call it a red shirt, right? So I made that. I transferred. Um, I was like, this coaching staff, Coach Pope, right? I was like, this coach is not going to be here forever. It was his first head coaching job, but it was very clear to every single person that saw him, he deserved to be at a much higher level, right? And so I was like, this is how I'm gonna learn the game. So I had a gap year where I was just practicing, just training, 3 and 4 days every single day for an entire year, really sharpening my skills and learning the game, right? And so once I did that, I felt so much more comfortable out there on the court.
Okay, yeah, awesome. And with obviously D1, there was a lot of other, Eastern Michigan. There were others. There was, UCLA, all of this and that. And did you ever play against all these high-ranking teams, and did you learn anything from them?
I mean, yeah, I played against some high major schools and whatever, and that's cool. But all that stuff is overhyped, man. Like, I've had teammates professionally where they were NBA players, or they made it to the NBA, or they won a national championship in college, and we're at the same level, right? So like that doesn't matter. How, whatever level you're at, that does not matter, right? You have to embrace your path and where you're going. You have to go to the right situation. It's cool. It's cool to play at a Duke or a Kentucky or UCLA, whatever. But none of that matters at the end of the day. That's just it's all flashy, It means nothing.
Yeah. Is that what you think should be taught, that, it's the same level throughout? It's just about how hard you work. It doesn't matter what college or whatever you go to.
Well, it's situational, No matter no matter who you are, if you're going to a high major school and you're sitting on the bench, you're 10th man and you're not getting any playing time, or you have an alternative option to go to a mid major and, start or be in a position where you're in the game, you're playing 25, 30 minutes a game, that that situation 10 times out of 10 is better for you. Sitting on the bench does nothing. Okay, you're at a high major or whatever, but you have the you're in the spotlight, but it means nothing. You're not gonna do anything after that. You need to go somewhere where you're gonna play, and that's what I had always envisioned for myself. Like when I had transferred from Utah Valley to my last school, Duquesne, right? I had 100 schools hit me up, right? Probably 10, 15 high majors, but I took a step back and I was like, look, this next move is very, very important. I could go to a high major school and yeah, that's cool and everything. But I need to go somewhere where it's the right fit for me. Okay, yes, I need to go to a little bit higher of a level, but I need to go somewhere where I'm going to play, where I'm going to improve as a basketball player so that I can be ready to go pro that next year. So situation is everything, man.
Yeah, and that's what I've seen with not just, in your scenario, with almost every guest I've had. They've, taken a step back. They're like, hold on, I want experience. I want to learn and get more minutes in, because who cares what you play for? At the end of the day, it's what you know and what you can do on the court.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you made the transfer year to Utah and then Duquesne and everything. What led to those transfers? Is it just grad transfer, or is it for more game time, or what?
It was to play pro. That was the number one. That was the objective here, right? Every single move I made since I was 16, it was how do I get here to play pro, right? So it was work my. You can just bleep out all these cuss words. I need to work my ass off when I'm 16 to get there. Okay, I need to get D1. I'm going JUCO because I don't have D1 offers. In order to go D1, I go D1. That first school, I'm not learning the game. I'm not going to be a good pro player, so I need to transfer to Utah Valley, right? I learned the game there and everything. That was the most important decision of my entire career, where that is why I'm a pro right there, playing for Coach Mark Pope, right? He ended up leaving, going to coach at BYU. The thing about Coach Mark Pope is Coach Pope, he didn't like me shooting threes, right? He's very analytical. He wants you to only stick to your strengths, right? I respect it. But I knew a 7-foot basketball player that can shoot the three is very valuable. So I've always been able to shoot a little bit. I never shot in games, right? I didn't have that confidence. I never had a coach that would allow me to shoot since high school, right? So I ended up making that last move from Utah Valley to Duquesne to play under Coach Keith Dambrot, where he loved my shot. He wanted me to come there and shoot 3-4 threes a game, man. And so that was the last piece of the puzzle. Every single move had a very specific purpose and was backed with intention, right, to get to that professional level. And all three of those moves was to get here, to get to that pro level.
Yeah, it's like collecting Infinity Stones, You got your three, you got your
Exactly.
you got this, you got that. And speaking about, obviously, 3 points as well. Obviously, basketball's, I remember watching Golden State Warriors, and because I used to watch basketball back then, Golden State with their threes, all of them can shoot. But back then, it was very different, They didn't like centers shooting threes now. What was your opinion around, all these transformations? A lot more teams shooting now instead of old school post up and everything.
Yeah, I mean it's like life with everything, Everything's gonna evolve. Just like it's the same thing with basketball, right? We're not gonna play the same way. Even in the 2010s, it's completely different. The way the game is played today, right? It's new generation. And so if you aren't able to keep evolving with the game and where it's going, then you're gonna get left behind, So that's how I view it.
Yeah, progress and everything, not just basketball, in life as well. You got to always look ahead, look for the next step and things. So let's talk about now. You finished, Duquesne 2020. COVID came around. How's it like at COVID?
COVID, man. COVID canceled our conference tournament, right? We're up in Brooklyn, getting ready to play. Next day, that night before, watching on TV when Rudy Gobert, touched all the mics, and then it came out that he had COVID, and then just shut the world down, right? And so, I was getting ready to sign with the agent, and I was gonna, go on some workouts, right? Some NBA workouts and stuff, but um, that ended up falling through, right? Because they pushed everything back, because of all the uncertainty. But yeah, so that summer I was again just grinding, trying to stay in shape, and then I ended up signing with the agent, and then he found me a decent job. I don't know if it was canceled. I know it was for sure pushed back. Usually it's all the pre-draft work and everything is like April to June, and then draft like end of June, right? But it was just pushed so far back. And overseas teams, they're signing players, June, July, right? And so I was like, do I really want to? I was like, which route do I go? Which route do I go for? And so I was like I'm going overseas.
So you moved to Poland, correct? That was your first move. How did that come about from the US to Poland?
Yeah, I mean, I told my agent, I was just like, look, I don't care about the money. I just need to be put in a solid league that's going to be respected by higher level leagues, so that I can show that I can play at this next level, so I can show that I'm a pro, right? And so that was the first offer I had. I said, let's go, but didn't really hesitate. Like, boom. So, yeah.
So moving to Europe as well, because Europe's very different to the US in a lot of things, culture and language, obviously, and tactics and everything. So how is it starting in Europe? Adapting and everything.
Well, so I'm half Bosnian, right? And so I've been to Europe before, but it's so it wasn't so much of a culture shock like it was back when I first visited when I was 17, right? So I knew, what Europe was about a little bit, right? Um, but when I would visit Europe before, I was seeing family. I had people I know, and people to show me around the city and everything. This time, I was getting dropped off in the middle of nowhere where I have no family, no friends, nothing. And so that hit me when we were driving into that city, and they just dropped me off at my apartment. That's when it really hit me, like, oh damn, like I'm here alone. Like it's just me out here, and it was rough, man. I'm not gonna lie. It because you're isolated, really. It helps that you have your American teammates, your local teammates, and everything. You have some form of family. You're a part of an organization, but it hit different, man. It really did.
Yeah, yeah. And what kind of things were, what kind of first steps did you do to get used to it? Obviously, you had your American teammates and everything, but at some point you got to integrate. So how did you do?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I was blessed to have some teammates that have they played a few seasons already, right? And so they were just kind of trying to teach me the ropes about how you make it, how you survive overseas, being alone, and they kept repeating, get in a routine, stay busy throughout the day, and so that's what I did. I just I found my routine and I stuck with it. Game day, off day, practice day, whatever. So I just found my routines, and that's what got me through it.
And speaking about routines, so let's do a little comparison. So back in the US, what did an average day look like for you? And Poland, what did an average day look like for you? What was the difference?
Yeah, I mean, in the States, let's compare it during my season, right? So regular day, at Duquesne, we had practice early in the morning, 6 a.m., something like that. Um, so I'm at the gym, call it, hour before practice, whatever, 3-4 hours in the morning. And then after that, classes. After that, extra work, you know, getting your meals in and everything. That's just the practice day, right? Um, and then bed. But overseas, it's like they do a lot of 2 days. There's no school. You're not in class, right? So, you got your, wake up, you got your first workout of the day, 10 a.m. Then you go home, have lunch. My routine was, I'll get some lunch. Then I would take a nap. Always take a nap, and then I'd wake up and do some stuff on the computer or whatever. And then get to the gym for practice at 6. After practice, I would always hit the ice bath and then get some dinner, go to sleep, do it again. So that was the routine there.
Hmm. Um, you made the mid-season switch as well to Hungary, which is, was it a different culture, Hungary compared to Poland, or was it the same old thing?
Hungary, you could say it's similar. It's similar in a lot of ways. Basketball was, same schedule, 10 to 6 for practices. Um, I can say it's similar. Polish people and Hungarian people are going to say it's not even close, but to an American, it's the same.
In terms of contract, because obviously you said you just want to get out there, you just want to play, you don't care about the money and all that. But in terms of facilities, so let's say in Poland and Hungary, what were the facilities like for a basketball player there?
The Hungary facility, the basketball gym, I would say it was a little nicer. Um,
In college gym, or
than college.
in comparison, US to Hungary, let's say, was there a big difference? Or?
Oh no, gyms overseas don't even compare. You got to get to like EuroLeague level before you can start comparing to D1 facilities. Yeah, it's not even close. Yeah, no, doesn't even compare. The gym, locker room, weight room, facilities. All we have the treatment center, nutrition center. Man, no, it doesn't even compare. Not even close.
Oh yeah. So you've done your thing in Europe. So how did you feel after your stints in Europe? Did you feel like you learned a different style of game, or?
Yeah, Europe is definitely it's much more physical, slower style of play, right? And it's pro man, it's cutthroat as hell. You're playing against uh, fathers feeding their kids, like to put that in perspective for you, and it's really it's a doggy dog mentality that you have to have. I mean, to give you an example, right? Like that first year, we had two bigs. It was me as a rookie big man, and then we brought another big man, fourth, fifth year. Um, that whole preseason we're battling against each other and basically trying to see who's going to start. We're battling for the starting position, right? But at the same time, O's old team, his our other big man, O's old team still didn't give him his LOI letter of or no, what was it, his release, whatever, I forget what it's called. They didn't release him, so he was not eligible to play in that first regular season game that we had. So he was in the stands, just watching. And we were playing at home. We were playing a good team. We were playing a Champions League team, right? So that's like an international level competition, right? So it's a big game. We beat them. All of us imports, all of us Americans going out to eat after, right? And tells us, he's like, man, hey y'all, they just cut me, you know? Um, and I'm over here, I'm a rookie, I've been here for a month and a half, and I'm like, whoa, like you didn't even do anything, like what's up? And they cut you, and they're like, yeah, man, like that's just how they see it. They view like, look, we won without this player, we don't need him. And so that was like that was the big difference, eye opener for me of the difference between like pro and college. Like they don't care. It's very cutthroat. It is very business. This is a business. And it all ended up working out. His agent he was on some gangster or something because he ended up staying on the team. He was playing with us the whole year, and it was a great year. But yeah, that just goes to show you like the difference between like college and professional, like the business side of things.
So how does his agent manage to pull it off? Like, Is it just regular stuff in Europe that happens, or?
No clue. No clue. Worked his magic.
Oh wow, they need more of that kind of ruthless kind of people. And did you say that was a kind of eye opener, like you said, how in Europe it's almost like every day you're fighting for your paycheck to live, but in America you're a lot more comfortable. You know, you've got this, you got mommy and daddy, you got this and that for most people. But for you personally, did you have something to fall back on, or was it just either basketball or nothing, pretty much?
I mean, now I got a couple. Now I'm okay, but like back then, like I'm finally at a point. I just got done with year 5 playing professional basketball, right? And I'm finally at a point where I feel like I don't need another basketball paycheck to be successful in this world, to be successful off the court, right? Because I know what I'm going to do. I have a very clear vision of what I'm going to do, right? But then it's a big reason why I didn't even try to go to the G League or anything to try and get into the league, because you can make more money over here, right? Compared to a G League or like an E10 or now, two-way contract, right? And so I needed every paycheck I needed, right? I don't come from anything, right? So I was starting at zero. And so every paycheck I was going towards building my foundation for my future, my family's future, right? So I needed everything. I needed everything, every single dollar that I got.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing as well. You know, when you start from zero, same with me. You know, we both came from nothing pretty much, and it's nice to see the rise and building up your assets and your skills and things like that. And so let's talk about now. You made a very big move, obviously, completely new world, new culture, moving to Asia to play in Japan. And how did Japan come about?
Yeah. To be honest, um, I was, I had a good trajectory going in Europe, right? Um, I improved year over year, and I was in a position to where I could, what you want to do is you want to double up every single year, right, and move to a higher level. I was in a position to do that in Europe, but I was in a real rough spot with my body, man. My body was like really giving me problems. My hips, my back, my knees were really hurting. And I was like, I don't know how much longer I have. I need to go to Japan to try and make the most of my limited playing time, or my limited career that I have, right? So that's the first time I've ever told anybody outside my close family. That is the reason why I went to Japan, was to um, try to just get as much out of this game as possible. Um, so it's a different culture, different everything, right? Different basketball, different culture, different lifestyle. Um, but yeah, that's why I made that move.
That's a tough decision to make as well, because obviously, I'm sure obviously you're obsessed with basketball things, but when you realise that time's running out, you need to make some tough decisions, of course. Um, so let's talk about how did you go to Japan? Was it straight from Hungary? You know, you went there and then you just landed and figured things out, or what?
Yeah, so I went to Japan, right? So on my way to Hungary, I was on a flight with another 6'7" basketball player, right? Um, we got off the plane in Frankfurt, from New York to Frankfurt. I said, "What's up, bro? Where you going to play?" Started talking to him, and he's like, "Man, I'm going to Japan." And I had got an offer from Japan before that year, actually. That year, I had an offer to Japan. I turned it down. Very good money, but I was like, my mind was, okay, I'm going to climb the European ladder, go to EuroLeague. But he talked about going to Japan, and I was like, really? It really sparked my interest. Tell me about it. He's like, man, he had a bad experience in Europe, a few different countries, and he's like, once I got to Japan, completely different. He absolutely loved it, and he was just talking the world about it, and we just stayed in touch. And I was like, man, I really think that's where I should be. And then mix that with how my body was feeling. It was a no-brainer. And so in the basketball world, in the professional basketball world, there's a lot of players that want to play over in Japan because it's a cool country to play in. It's a good place to once you go there, once you get into that market, you're good, basically, and so it's very tough to get in there. You need a really good agent that's very well connected, right? So I had found an agent that had a good partner, right? A good partner agent for that market. And that's the sole reason why I signed with him because he had the connection to get me into that market. And that's about all we'll say about that situation there for now. Yeah.
We'll leave it at that, yeah. And so moving into Japan, obviously Japan's very, very different to obviously Europe and Hungary and things like that. Were you kind of starstruck by Japan, like see all these lights, all these buildings, all the money being thrown around and things? How did it work out?
I mean, you know, I was living in a real nice area. I was in Shinagawa. It's very close to, it's basically Tokyo area, 20 minutes from Shibuya. Shibuya Crossing is what everyone has seen in the movies and everything. So I was in a really nice area. I loved it. That was a great area to be, especially when you go to Japan. It's such a different culture than the United States and Europe, right? I wanted to make sure that I was in Tokyo, in the city, right? And so that transition was really smooth. I really liked it. It was just it wasn't so much of a culture shock because it's a little bit more, you can say modern, but like, because like a lot of the time when people think of Japan, they think, oh, they're 10 years, 20 years in the future. But um, they're just it's close to states, you know.
Being coming from the States and moving to Japan, is it was it difficult settling in as a foreign import player?
I mean, it was smooth, it wasn't crazy. It that was one of the first years, one of the first times I remember like, okay, I didn't really get that like sunken stomach feeling when I got dropped off there, because I was in the city, and so it was much easier. Basketball wise, it was a learning curve to like adjust to their style of play and everything, but um, no, it wasn't too tough.
Did you find your crowd? Do you think was there a couple Americans there, or were you the only one?
We had two other imports. Yep. Um, we were all cool. Shout out to my boy FaZe. um, but yeah, he's the OG out there. He's been playing in that league for damn like a decade now or something crazy. It's on his Uncle Drew stuff. But yeah, when you got the OG out there, it makes it a lot easier, because they can kind of show you the ropes how to operate out there. And so I was blessed to have that.
Yeah, yeah. And how was your time at Japan? You think playing there? Obviously, new world. Did you learn a lot from it, and did you enjoy it? And
First year in Japan, um, the first year of Japan, man, I fell out of love with the game of basketball. It was really rough for me, man. So the situation I was in with the Yokohama, that was my first team, right? I was brought in. There's three total imports. I was third option right away. The other two had played together with that team. They won a championship, right? And so coach was really comfortable with them playing together. And so I was really struggling to kind of find my role with the team and how I could really help them out. And they ended up firing me, right? So I was getting ready to go to a game. It's December 23rd, and I'm getting ready to leave my apartment, and my agent calls me, and he never calls me right before a game, and I know something's up. So I'm like, "What's up? What's going on?" And he's like, I gotta be straight up with you right now. I'm firing you. Don't worry about it. It's gonna be okay. We're gonna get a settlement, whatever. Um, it's gonna be good. So I was just like, okay, that's cool. Next team, I stayed in Japan, right? Um, I went to Sendai. Had a great month with them. I was an injury replacement player for Rashawn Thomas, who he had hurt his thumb or his finger or something. They needed a player for a month until he got back healthy. So I went up there, um, and I enjoyed it. I really loved it. That team was amazing. I had so much fun playing with them, right? And then he got back healthy, and it was time to find another team. We knew that that clock was ticking, and there was another team, Iwate. It was in that same league as Yokohama, and they were both title contenders, right? And so I had an offer from another B1 team or this B3 team. Um, Yokohama Iwate is B3. The second team I was with, Sendai, B1. That's the top league, very good league. I turned down that other B1 offer to go to that B3 team, the title contender, because I knew there would be a chance for me to play Yokohama in the playoffs and knock them out, right? And so I bet on myself that way. With the Iwate situation, I was going to replace another player who is his finger, you know? And the team was basically telling me, look, we want to bring you in, and if we like you, we're going to keep you to the end of the season. And basically, we're going to make a decision if we want to keep you on the roster or once this other guy gets healthy, if we're going to bring him back and put him in the team. So I was like, okay, I need to play well. I need to do my thing and show that I'm their guy so that I can knock out Yokohama. I start off strong, man. My first 5 games, I'm playing really well. And it was after the 6 games. It was after 6 games where they were going to decide to extend me through the rest of the season or not. That 6th game, I had a donut against the second place team in the league. We beat them. I had a donut, 0 points. And so I'm like, it's good we won, but I'm like, damn, like I just messed up big time. And they ended up extending me. But since that game, it was downhill from there. My performance was downhill, and I was losing it mentally. The injured player, he got back healthy, and I played my way right out of that spot, right out of that situation. So I was done for the rest of the season. And I was at a real low point with the game, man. I was over it. I look at it, I got fired 2 times in one season, and from the worst league in arguably the world, right? And so all that mixed together, it's just like equals me falling out of love with the game. And so, to be honest, that was a rough year. So, yeah.
How did you kind of get back in form? Was it just a wake up call? You're like, right, I need to lock back in again, or?
Yup. I was like, I didn't want to play in any other league other than that B3 league. Okay. I told my agent, I'm like, look, I'm going back to that same exact league, and I'm going to show everyone that I am the player that I know I am. So I went to this team, Gifu, and this is when I started giving about everything, and I'm like, I'm about to show what I can do, right? I'm about to go in beast mode right now, right? I'm doing what everyone should expect me to do. I'm doing what I need to do. I play well. I go there on average 20 and 12, right? And every single game, I'm just approaching it like, man, I have something to prove to every single one of these teams, right? Like, I'm not a player that gets cut twice in one season. It's wild that even happened. So I had a chip on my shoulder, man, and I was angry that entire season, and I started having fun again, man. I was really having fun playing the game, and yeah, and then that led into me getting into China. Summer league team needed a player, much higher level than B3, and I took it. I went there because there was a path into the CBA. For reference, right? B3 Japan, you can call it the lowest level in Asia. The CBA in China, you can call it the highest level in Asia. and that summer league, Chinese summer league, is a direct route into the CBA. So I was like, I'm gonna take it. I signed there, gave up my entire off season, my summer, to go and show that I can't just go and average 20 and 12 in this B3 league. I can do that anywhere. So I played at that much higher level, and I did the same thing. I averaged 22 and 12. I shot the ball extremely well. I shot 43% from three. I was angry, man. I was angry, and so I showed that I could do that at an even higher level, and then these CBA teams started to take notice and led me to where I am now.
Yeah, and moving to China, obviously, like you said, the big, much higher league than the Japanese league. And what was your kind of experience there in China? What did you learn that you didn't get from Japan?
Um, but they operate very differently, right? Complete 180 from each other. Completely different cultures. Um, China is much more cutthroat than Japan. Much more cutthroat. Japan is much more, players go there to retire with their families and just kind of cruise straight up. That's how it is. China, it's like every single game you're playing to stay on the team. They're shopping. They're shopping. They're bringing a player to replace you every single game, and so that's the real difference between Japan and China is that they just operate completely different, and they will replace you in a heartbeat if you don't perform. Yeah.
Ruthless, more Chinese as well, they're very ruthless with contracts and business and things like that. And speaking about contracts as well, it was actually how I kind of found your page actually, unfortunately, but the whole contract issue that in China with the non-payment issue. Do you want to tell us what happened with the whole contract problem?
Yeah. So, first thing I heard when I signed to play in China, I got my boys telling me like, hope you get paid. Like, better make sure you're on a good team that they're gonna pay their players and everything. And I'm like, what are you even talking about? I can go to FIBA. You know, FIBA is the international court system for uh, basketball, where if a team doesn't pay you, you can sue the team through FIBA, right? So I'm not worried. I get to the team. This is the NBL team, Zhengzhi Ganqi. Um, I get there, and they were supposed to reimburse me for my like visa stuff, right? When I got my visa, it was like a couple $1,000, maybe it's like $1,500 in expenses, and they're taking a long time to reimburse me. It took like 2-3 weeks, and I was like, okay, let's go. So I'm telling my agent like, look, I'm gonna sit out if they don't pay me. So they ended up paying me, and then the first paycheck is due, right? And most contracts is pretty standard to have a 2-week grace period, to where if the team doesn't pay you within 2 weeks, then the player has the right to sit out, not participate in any competition or practices, anything, and they can deem that the rest of the contract is due immediately, right? And so I had that. I knew I had that. So they were never more than 2 weeks late, right? The problem was on that last payment, that last month, I didn't have that leverage because there was no games to be played. So they just they took their time. And so after the season, 2 weeks goes by, nothing. A month goes by, they keep on saying, yeah, we're gonna send you next week, next month, whatever. It ended up being like 4 or 5 months, and I just came to the realization, like, huh, after talking to my other teammates and everything, they're not gonna pay me. They didn't pay any of my Chinese teammates the entire season. Um, they didn't. The same situation with my American imports. They were late on all their payments, and they didn't get their last paycheck. I go to sue them. I get a lawyer, and turns out in China there's two different court systems in the contracts. You can either check to go through FIBA or to check to go through. There's a Chinese Basketball Association court system that they use, and that was the one that they used, and that one's corrupt, straight up. And so I wouldn't have got my. There's no way I get my money if I sue them through there. So it'd be a very long process. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna make a video about it to warn other potential players that could sign here, right? So that they know to check that FIBA box just in case they don't pay them, so they can sue them and get their money through FIBA. Yeah. So I posted the video, and I expected to never see that money ever. Because if I'm in their shoes, I see that, and I'm like, why would I pay you now? I posted the video, and they sent me a message the next day with a screenshot of them sending the money to my account, and they said, "Can you please delete the video?" And I was like, one, we'll see when the money hits my account, because that's a good tactic. You can Photoshop that. One, see if the money hits my account. Two, we're not talking about deleting anything until you pay every single one of my teammates, because I want people to know what kind of organization you guys are. And if I can help a player save his time and effort to get what's owed to him by not going to play with you, why would I delete that video? And so that was my situation with them. Yeah, gotta really do your homework on these teams you're playing for.
Yeah. Did they end up paying you, or is the video still up?
They ended up paying me. Yeah, they ended up paying me, but they didn't pay my teammates. So, no, I didn't delete it.
You stuck up for your teammates, obviously, because a lot of people,
Of course.
they're your bros, obviously, you train with them, you sit with them, you live with them and everything. So you got to stick up for your homies. But yeah, and was that your kind of last experience of China, or did you move on to another higher competition, in CBA or?
Yeah. So after that summer league team, had this CBA team offer me, I took it. Long story short, CBA is even more cutthroat, especially that team where they're really rotating players a lot, and I ended up being in a situation where the other import that I was brought in with, they had cut him during preseason, right? And so I was walking on my toes that entire time, and I was like, okay, I gotta lock in, man. Yeah. Right before my contract would have converted to fully guaranteed, I had two of the worst games of my entire career, and they ended up firing me, right? So they fired me. We're trying to work out, settlement and everything. They end up saying like, hey, this is a big misunderstanding. We want to bring you back. And I was like, no, thank you. Please buy my flight ticket. I'm going home. I go home. I'm gone for like 4 weeks, right? My agent calls me. Hey, B, Fuji wants you back. They're offering this, this, and this. What do you think? They need you as soon as possible. I sat down and thought about it, and I was like, okay, let's do it. Let's run it back. So team fired me, brought me back a month later, a little bit better terms and everything, and it was smooth from there, you know? Um, yeah, wild.
They say no and then yes, and then sitting on the fence and everything.
Yeah.
And let's talk about, obviously, another video I saw about you, I think it happened earlier, was playing basketball whilst, fasting for Ramadan and things like that. How do you, obviously you've got massive frame, 7 foot and everything. How do you sustain that whilst fasting?
Allah, man, that's it. Because my first year fasting, it was that year with Gifu, right? 2023, 24. And those games, we play at 3 p.m. We play in the middle of the day, fasted. So I'm nervous, man. I'm so nervous. You can prepare your body as much as possible by, eating the right things. But as far as having your last meal and sip of water at 5 a.m. and then preparing your body to play at 3 p.m. in this hot gym, where you have to go 100 with nothing since 5 a.m. I'm like, how am I going to do this? But honestly, man, I don't know what happened. That first Ramadan, something took over me, man. That's why I just say Allah, because I was averaging probably 19 and 12, 19 and 11 going into that, or 18 and 12. But over the 8 game stretch, I averaged, I think it was like 28 and like 15, man. Fasted, like in a different mode, just locked in. And like I have goosebumps talking about it because I don't understand it. I can't understand it. Um, but you just try and do what you can. You try to put the right things in your body, and prepare yourself, mentally and physically, and hope it works out.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of athletes as well, they're saying, exact same thing you're saying. They feel better and they sometimes perform a lot better during that month. They're locked in, obviously, they're eating and training and things like that. So, yes, different gravy being fasted compared to normal. Let's swap over, obviously, to outside the court. So, you've obviously got your own knee pain business, your coaching and things like that. How did you first get into that?
Yeah, so like I said, I had made the move from Europe to Asia because I needed to be in a world where it's less pounding on the body, right? Japan, they take things a little lighter than Europe, and then plus, what I had thought is that there's more money over here in Asia, right? So I was like, let me get the most out of this game, out of my body, and so that was why I did that. But my body started to really deteriorate, man. I had 5 injections and they didn't do anything on my knees, right? I'm forced to take prescription painkillers just to be able to play a game and practice hard, right? And those eventually start wearing off, so I start doubling up, and then those start wearing off, and to where I'm just out there hurting, man. So I need a solution. Um, I found Dennis Clifford, my now business partner. Um, I got on his program, and after the first week, I called him, and I'm like, I'm mad. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, how come you're not like pushing this to the world? Like, there are so many athletes, let alone normal people that need this, right? And long story short, we ended up partnering, to bring this to the world, right? Because we're approaching it differently, right? When we have knee pain, doctors and physical therapists tell us strengthen your quads and stretch them, right? But there's only so much that can do. We're professional athletes. We're athletes. We have strong legs, man. That's not the problem. 95% of the time, it's somewhere else along your kinetic chain. Something's out of line. Some muscles aren't activated. There's some imbalance in your body that is causing your knees to overcompensate for that imbalance, and naturally, your knees taking on more load, more force than they're supposed to, is going to cause pain. And so our system, we focus on rebuilding the entire body, right? We attack the knees from the bottom up by rebuilding the feet, realigning everything, making sure everything's activated. So our first point of contact with the ground can absorb as much force as possible. And then from the top down, by realigning our hips and reactivating all the supporting muscles in the core, the glutes, everything, right? And then as well as the entire posterior chain, making sure everything's activated so that your knees do not have to overcompensate. I I had such great results with it. I played for the first time off painkillers in um, my pro career. You know, it's wild to me. So now that's my mission, especially this summer. I'm trying to bring that to the world, man.
You talked about obviously strengthening from the bottom up, and then working your hip down. What's a good first step for someone who has a knee pain to sort themselves out?
Honestly, hit me up and I can give you my free mobility guide. It's a workout, 45-minute or so workout, that takes stuff from our program that will help you 10 times better than anything you've ever done. I'm pretty confident that you've never done anything like what's in this, our mobility guide, right? Or just follow me on Instagram. I post my workouts that I'm doing all the time. Like, honestly, like, you you have to first have a realization that like this stuff I'm doing for my knee pain, strengthening my quad, it's not working, it's not fixing it. So you have to first come to a realization, I have to do something different, and our stuff is different. So um, follow me, hit me up, seriously.
Yeah, you're putting us on a free game, so what more could you want? And with social media as well, you obviously do content creation, like you said, you work out, stay in the lives and things like that. How did you first get into content creation?
Yeah. So I've been doing it since July of 2024, and I'm in China, right? And this is the most like free time I've ever had, and I see myself just scrolling like bad on Instagram, and I see a video. It's of this little kid. He's like, I don't know, 11, 12 years old, and on a shitty setup, man, like a real bad camera, real bad background lighting, whatever. But his message was so powerful, it made me start. He said, "What are you doing? What are you doing scrolling in a world where we're in a social media era? Why are you scrolling and not creating? You know, like there's no excuse to not create when this is how our world is run now." And how he said it was just it just hit me, man. And so I just started doing it, and I've been consistent with it, and it's now we're here, you know, and now it led me to an opportunity to be on this great podcast, you know.
You're on nearly 50K as well, so that's 50,000 people who, interested in your stories and things like that.
Wild to me.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like a lot of people just being interested in one person or one thing. Yeah, so same with me. I've seen that. I think I've seen that video or something similar. It was like everyone's a consumer now. Unfortunately, everyone's just scrolling, like you said. But we need to be producers. You're either a creator or a consumer, so you've got to choose. And with your obviously content and your social media, what things do you want to achieve out of it?
I mean, my style, I'm experimenting all the time, right? But the main thing is I want to be authentically me. I don't want to sugarcoat anything, and I want to say shit how it is. I want to tell my experiences. Like a lot of the things that I post about a team not paying me, about me firing my agent, or about the crazy season I had. The list goes on, right? I try and tell things like how it is. I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything. I'm not gonna make it pretty for social media. Like I'm trying to use it to tell my story and what I've learned from life and my experience playing basketball overseas. It's a perspective that I not a lot of people get a view life from my perspective, and so I just want to share it. Um, Share what this game is giving me, and just what I'm doing, you know? So I'm just trying to have fun with it, you know, and not really care too much. I'm trying not to care, you know, if a video goes viral or doesn't perform, doesn't get a lot of views, whatever. As long as I'm authentically me, then I'm happy doing it, you know?
Yeah, and that's the best way. God rewards obviously those who are honest, and obviously you don't fake content. All of these guys, it's the real you, it's the real Baylee. So at some point it's going to click. And speaking about authenticity as well, we're going near the end of the kind of episode, and I always want to take kind of advice from you because you've been through a lot. You've been in the US, you've been in Europe, you've been in Asia, you've taken a lot of lessons and things. So, what's some tips you'd give to young basketball players?
Yeah, man, I would say the number one thing is you gotta whatever goal you set for yourself and whatever vision you have, don't set anything realistic. Aim for that absolute highest place you can be and see it very clearly, and you're naturally going to work out the steps to get there and work your ass off to do it. Like if you have that work ethic and you have the vision that's super clear, you're going to achieve everything you want to in this life.
Yeah, and would you say that applies to life as well? Just go at it.
Life as well, 100%.
And what's the best advice you've received?
Job worth doing is worth doing right. My dad, I mean, he repeated, you know, every day growing up. And there's this one day where it just hit me, you know, like what it really means, you know, like work off. don't have to anything, and just, you know, if you're gonna commit to something, like commit 100% to it. That's that's yeah.
That's true. And if you were, if you saw your 18-year-old self, what would you tell, 18-year-old Bailey?
Dream bigger. Dream bigger. My thing was I said I want to be a professional basketball player overseas because I thought it was realistic, right? I didn't want to set my sights on the NBA because I thought it was too unrealistic of a goal. And now I find myself in a position where I achieved everything that I saw myself achieving, and now I'm like I have goosebumps, man. This is like real shit. Like now I'm in a position where I'm asking myself, like, what if I would have dreamed just a little bit higher? Where would I be right now? You know? And so I don't want to say it's a regret, but it's my biggest lesson from this game that is translates directly to the real world. Set set big goals, man. Set big goals.
Yeah, yeah. And to close this off, I made a little Q&A, so people send in their questions. Obviously, we've got some good questions, the good, the bad, the ugly. So the first one is from Josh. He says, "Do you think more money should be put into basketball, especially from the UK?" I guess because he's from England, he's asking.
I mean, it's if the sport makes money, if the team makes money, then they can pay the players more. I don't think you can't expect the team to pay players more money than they make. It's a business at the end of the day. That's how I view it. That's why certain markets, you get paid a lot more because these teams make money. They have more fans. They have TV deals, whatever. If the team isn't making money, they can't pay the players. That's how I view it.
Yeah, yeah. And another person asks, "What's the funniest or most memorable moment overseas?"
When during our national team break in 2022, this is February 2022. Me and my boy, my Polish brother, teammate, we went to Italy. This is during COVID, and you needed a COVID test to travel and the vaccines and whatever. And I didn't think you needed one to get back in the country, to leave the country. Turns out you did. Our flight's at 9 a.m. We get there, 7:30, whatever. And they don't let me check in because I don't have my negative COVID test, right? But they're like, there's a pharmacy right down the road. It's 15 minutes away. They open at 8 a.m. Go there, take the test, and come back. Hopefully you're here in time. I'm like, okay. We go. We get this taxi. He takes us there. We tell him the situation, everything. Like, we're in a rush right now, right? It's like 8 a.m. right now. The pharmacy's just opening. We're about to pull up to the pharmacy. There's a long line, man. There's like 10 people in line waiting. My taxi driver, clutch, man, clutch. He cuts up to the front of the line. He talks to everyone in line, and he's like, hey, I got some guys who need to catch a flight right now. Like, speaks to him, right? Gets us up there and take the test. They do mine right away. We're done. It's 8:15, right? But now there's crazy traffic on the way back. This 15-minute car ride back to the airport is going to take 25, 30 minutes. My taxi driver, the GOAT, man, he goes on the shoulder and he's getting us there, bro. He's getting us to the airport on time. We get there 8:30. Flight's at 9 o'clock. We cut everyone. We go straight to the woman who helped us at the checkout counter. We're like, we good? Like, what's up? Like, we too late or what? She's like, come with me. I got you. This time the airport's packed. The security line is crazy. We're not going through the security line. We're going some back way. We're cutting through the employee entrance or whatever. We're getting a personal escort through the Rome airport straight to our gate so we can make our flight right through the gate. I'm like, wow, that was an experience right there.
They hooked you up.
Yeah. Yep.
That's the thing as well with people helping you out. Like you said, even with the janitor back then, he helped you out with the court. He opened up the courts, and they hooked you up with the COVID test, taxi, being boss man and everything. Another question was, who's a basketball player you looked up to growing up?
Kevin Durant and Steven Adams, right? So Steven Adams with his, his strength, his force at the rim, and then Kevin Durant with just his being Kevin Durant. silky smooth footer, moving like a guard. Those are the two guys I looked after. I looked up to. You know.
Was that during the OKC days, when KD was at OKC, or?
OKC days definitely for Steven Adams. Yeah, probably both of them. Both of them.
Final question is, if you had to pick a category for each player, like make the perfect player, who would it be? You know, for shooting and height and strength.
Yeah, probably Steph Curry shooting. I'm gonna have to say you gotta go Derrick Jones Jr. athleticism. You gotta go LeBron James playmaking ability. Kevin Durant skill. That's a pretty solid player right there. Steven Adams strength.
That's what you need, man. And what's your to wrap this up? What's your final message to everyone watching? I know you've given advice, but
Yeah, man. Honestly, I'll say what I would say to my 18-year-old self. Do not set realistic goals. Aim for the moon, and you're just naturally going to work out how to get there, right? If you really see that vision crystal clear, I promise you're going to naturally work out how to get there, and you will get a hell of a lot further than if you aim for something realistic.
Yeah. Thank you, man. It's been a pleasure having you on, Baylee.
Hey, thank you, bro. I appreciate you and your time.
One of a kind. First podcast you've been on?
Second podcast now. Number 2.
Oh, wow. You're in high demand, man. Hopefully many more. The story out.
We'll see. I'm open to it. I'm open to everything.
Thank you, bro. Take care.
Yep.
Have a good one,
Thank
man.
you, bro.
Stay
Yes, sir. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Alhamdulillah.
Always. We know the loss. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.